Oh my god. Jesus. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. We've got this Focus road bike in today for a full service. I'm going to strip this down to the frame, replace the chain, the cassette, all the cables, and this headset. Wow, this has got issues. So this chain, that's 1% there. I'm guessing the chain's about 1.4, 1.5% worn, absolutely destroyed. Obviously changing the chain, and we're putting a new cassette on there at the same time. Both brake and both gear cables are being changed. Apparently it's got a fairly new bottom bracket, but we'll have a look at that. I'm hoping this new chain is going to sit better on this chain ring than this, otherwise you might be having some new chain rings as well. I think the main issue on this is going to be the headset. It feels awful. It's what, 2018 bike now, so it's probably been in here best part of 7 or 8 years. And it's sort of bleeding, so that's never a good sign in a carbon frame. So I've got bearings, or the internet tells me the right bearings. We'll find out when we get in there. So let's make a start on this, get it stripped down to the frame, and then see what we can find. Also, this gear lever does not work at all, so I'm guessing, or I'm hoping the cable's snapped inside there, and that's all it is, because this is doing almost nothing at the back now. Alright, so I'll strip it down to the bare frame. I'm going to get rid of all the cables. These are sort of semi-internally routed, but there's good access underneath the bottom bracket there. So I'm tempted just to pull these out. It'll be fairly easy to drop that through there and just pull it through the bottom bracket rather than putting liners in. The only slightly challenging one might be the chainstay, which is the angle of that cable. Oh my god. Anyway, so I'll run a liner through that chainstay and make life a bit easier down that end. At the moment, let's just get it stripped down to the bare frame and see what we've got. Well, that's the majority of the stuff stripped off. This front derailleur bolt is proper seized. I've just soaked it in some PB Blaster, but wow, it's tight. I don't want to shear it. It's normally a braze on, but this is actually a band-on version, so... Oh, wow, that's tight. Well, technically it doesn't need to come off, but I don't really want to leave it in this condition forever. Sooner or later that bolt's going to snap, that's for sure. It's not good. I might have got it. Jesus. You probably saw the bottle cage was pretty tight, the front caliper was full of mud, and this front derailleur's almost seized. Wow. What I'm doing is going backwards and forwards until the PB Blaster can work its way down the entire thread, hopefully. And sooner or later you just got to commit. Right, I think that's got it. I obviously want to tap through that. And it eventually comes out. Well, disaster averted. Front derailleur. So I'm going to run a liner for this rear derailleur cable. It only goes to this short section here, then you've got access to it again. Yeah, but I'm just going to put a liner through there. This will just thread all the way through to the bottom bracket, hopefully, and then make life a bit easier. So that's the chainstay one there. It has got actually quite a big liner in there, so I'm just wondering if that might go all the way through anyway. But we'll try and pull this through now with the separate liner. There's my liner there. So that can just stay in there regardless then. So we know we can definitely get that cable straight through. These two cables here, you've got access. You've just pushed these straight through from the head tube. So I'm not going to line those. I'm going to be brave and just go for it. If it goes wrong, it makes it more exciting to watch. So I'll just pull those straight out the head tube now. Like so. And wish me luck getting them back in. We'll be fine, don't worry. And again, this brake cable, just a one piece, there's a massive exit for it at the other end, so I'm just going to pull this straight out. Don't worry guys, it'll be fine. Right, next is this headset. It feels awful, and like I say, this rusty sort of grease here is never a good sign, so let's see what we got in here. This could be a nightmare. Well, I've not looked at this before or anything, so you're going to see what I'm going to see. You've probably seen some other videos like the Cube one where this has just been, oh my god, the worst thing you've ever seen in your life, but I'm hoping it's not quite as bad as that one. Take that out. Right, these should come off. Well, the fork's out, that's a good start. Might not be as bad as it looked. Could be our lucky day. Right, let's see. Top bearing. Oh, that was an anticlimax, sorry guys. Straight out. It's the lower one. I'll just flip the frame up. This is moving as well. Ah, that's an anticlimax, wasn't it? Sorry. I thought you'd be watching me hammer this out for the next 2 hours, but she's out. Pretty poor condition, feels awful. So we'll clean this up, get some grease in here and put the new bearings in. Ordered these bearings from what the internet's telling me are the right ones, because there's so many different bearings, it's almost impossible. I carry many, but sod's law says I've never got the right one. So I've ordered what the internet tells me are the right bearings for this frame. So we'll see. So I'm just going to quickly whip this seat post out as well. There is a marking on here, so it's on 180. So we'll get that level when we go back in. Make sure this isn't seized as well. Oh, you beast, that's tight. That's not moving. That could be seized solid. So with that clamp completely undone and this seat post clamped as tightly as possible in my stand, they are spinning as one unit, which kind of says that this is sort of seized in here really. I don't want to go too crazy with this, because at the end of the day it is a guy's winter bike. It's a bit of a hack. It already fits him, so he doesn't ever need to adjust this again, so potentially it could just stay where it is and become one with the frame. But I will persevere slightly with some carbo move spray down here, see if I can free it up. But if it doesn't move, it's not the end of the world. The guy never needs to move it again anyway, just to be a resale issue if he did ever sell it. But at the end of the day, it's a 7-year-old carbon bike with rim brakes. Nobody really wants these now, unfortunately. I'm personally a big fan of them, but it'd probably only be worth £200 or £300 ultimately. So if it's stuck, it's probably staying stuck, unfortunately. But I'll spray some stuff down there and come back to it later, see if it frees itself off a bit. So this is Carbo Move, which is a penetrating spray release agent for carbon fibre, basically. So just normally does a good job on this stuff. Then just spray it in. So I'll let that soak in for a bit. When we get the bike finished and back on the floor on some wheels, I can brace the frame between my legs a bit easier and just twist the saddle. I've not got much grip at the moment because all I've got is the clamp that's holding there, and it's just spinning. So it may move once I get the saddle and a bit more leverage sort of thing. So we'll come back to that later on in the video. So the first thing I'm going to look at is if I've actually got the right bearings. You won't believe how difficult this is to buy. There must be 50 different bearings for headsets. Right, so that one is going to be that one, I'm guessing, and that one is going to be that one. Right, this looks extremely plausible, so that's a good start. Yeah, I think they're going to be okay. I will measure them up and whatnot, but the basic angles, we're looking for 36, 45, 36, 45, internal, external, thickness. There's all sorts of things you need to take into consideration, but these all look good. Right, that's the result. So I'll get these frame cleaned up, and then we can make a start by putting these in. Not that much to put on here really, so we took the cranks off, obviously. These chain rings could be questionable with a new chain, we'll have a look at that. Bottle cage just so we can clean the frame. Really has seen better days, there's massive corrosion on there, but it was still moving. Calipers look good. Front derailleur, we need to clean that up and re-tap this thread and the other caliper. So there's not that much to go on there, obviously a new. That's not good, I shouldn't be doing that. Right, so there's a problem with this caliper here. Basically there's no spring tension there, so hopefully something's just fell off and we can clip it back in. It should be like that with some springiness in there, but this is it's all floppy, so we'll have to have a look at that. It's actually fairly clean as it is, so I'll just give it a quick wipe down now, quick polish while there's nothing on it, and then come back to you. So it didn't need much, it was pretty much spotless as it was, but like I say, while there's nothing on it, I'm just going to give it a polish now. There's a gloss frame, so it should come up quite nicely. And again, the fork is in really good shape. Beautiful decals on this, it's such a nice paint job on it. Like a bit of colour on them, come on guys, all this matte black stuff. Where did it all go? Fork's in good condition, there's no steps on here where the headset's been sitting. If you've got a deep sort of groove here, then your headset's been loose and worn it out. You've got issues. This one all looks good. Right, that just needs a good polish as well. Clean that back out. Good as new, beautiful. So we can get this headset back in now, get the fork on the bike, get it out of the way. And before we do that, I'm just going to go over my grease gun debacle I've been having. As you're probably aware, on the gravel build video I tried this device, which is basically a sort of a massive syringe. There's a little catch on here that people obviously tell me about. I didn't know about that, by the way. And then if you squeeze that basically in there, it's quite good, but it's just an uncontrollable sort of dribble at the end, which you never want, it's never good. You can release the pressure on there to stop that. But yeah, it's not growing on me, unfortunately. Could go back to my normal syringes that I've always used. These are getting a bit broken, I've got some new spares. These actually work pretty well. What I really wanted to do is use this old Finish Line one. This is probably 30, 35 years old now. I'll put it through the ultrasonic, I've dismantled it, I just can't get it to work properly, which is a shame. Just a really nice action, just to get real precise application. So I bit the bullet and bought a brand new Finish Line gun, which is probably just a Chinese generic brand. But it actually works, and it works really well. So with this sort of grease gun, you can get really precise application wherever you want it. It's fantastic. It doesn't do your dribble thing that the other one was doing. That's just me where I've smudged it in and like that then. I've got paint brushes as well, so there's loads of different ways of doing it, but I think ultimately I'm veering towards this as a sort of go-to solution because it just works. Like I say, you can use brushes as well. Just get grease on these bearings, guys, honestly. Nothing worse than pulling one of these out of a carbon frame after it's seized in there. We're not lubricating the bearing, obviously. All we're doing is preventing seizing here. Use anti-seize, use grease, use bloody kitchen fat if you want. Just use something. Right, that'll go in there and the grease will hold it in place. Again, top one. This is a black oxide coated bearing, so these don't tend to seize quite as bad. So this cap that goes on top, you'll see there's a rubber O-ring inside here. So you need just a little bit of grease on there just to make it easier to slide onto the steerer, because this can seize as well. There's already a ton of grease on that lower bearing, but we're just going to put a little bit on this integrated crown race on the fork. You don't need anything on here, it doesn't do anything. And you can drop the fork into the frame, get your compression. There's a little plastic washer on top of this one, that can go back in. Get it all clean first, and then this cap here should pretty much hold it together like that, so I'm not holding that now. Got a little bit of grease on here still, that's fine. We are cleaning it off where the stem goes though. But a little bit of grease on these doesn't hurt either. It's got a taper on there, I'm guessing that went to the top. Like that. Again, clean this grease off here where your stem's going to actually go onto. Can put carbon paste on it if your manufacturer specifies that. Some do, some don't. I'm going to just chuck the stem back on there, basically. Oh, that's short. Right, that's way too short, that is. You can't have the steerer below that top bolt, so I'm going to have to take one of these spaces out. So he's obviously been using it like that for a long time, but that's way too short. We'll take one out and see what it looks like. We might need a half size one, yep. That was actually about right, so you need about 1 to 3 millimeter gap there. It must be above the top bolt here, so that will probably work. Let me see if I can get tension on the headset. There's something weird going on with this expander. Give that a tap. Tap that down because that wedge is not in the right position. Alright, just drop this back in there and hopefully get some tension on this headset. Okay, good. Now, so that's back together and moving beautifully. You may have noticed I've just changed this top cap because I'm not happy with the one that was on there. This one here, basically that plastic shim that was in there, it needs another shim because this is basically fouling on the frame once we get it tightened down. This one's got more clearance, it's not touching the frame, so it feels super good. Put this one here, it adjusts, but it's so tight. So I'm going to leave this in for now. I'm going to get some shims on order because I've run out. And then I'm going to put this one back in with an additional shim, so it's got just a little bit of clearance to clear that frame there. That's how it should feel. There's no play there at all, rocking that side to side. And it's super smooth. So I'll leave it as it is so I can continue with the build and get some of these shims on order. They should be here tomorrow. Right, let's see what's going on with the gear cable, or not. So I'm going to try and leave this bar tape on because it's in pretty good condition. Looks like it's double wrapped, it's really thick. It's also wrapped it over the hood, which is nice. The cable lives in here. I'm not sure I can focus you, and then you should be able to move that and then see what's going on. There's another cover on the back, I'm just having a look in there. There is no cable there. Also, I didn't pull one out, which is unusual. So where is it? Did I pull it out? I don't remember pulling it out. Weird. Just put this back in and try and operate this hood like that. It doesn't work because this hood basically stops the movement of that lever. So if you're going to try and move it, you need to get this back out of the way. Enough just to clear this mechanism. Right, so there's no cable in there that I can see. And it's only got sort of 2 or 3 geared movements, so there's something not right in here, that's for sure. Right, this is not happy at all. So we'll flush it through. So the best access hole you've got is this one here. I'm just using a normal TFT lube. WD-40 is actually pretty good for this. If it is seized, it will help free it up, but normally pretty much anything's going to help. Don't be afraid to flood it through really, because it's clearly not happy where it is. And then the other side where that cover is, you'll get a little bit in there as well. Any access hole you've got. There is a plate on the bottom you can take off to get real good access, but we shouldn't need to. There's no definite click on this one at the moment, so if that comes back, then we know we help to free it up. I don't think we're going to be so lucky. This is definitely not happy chappy. Well, it's not working. I'll flip the bike upside down and I'll take this cover off. So this is the cover here. There's a screw that holds it in. It's normally fell out. It is still there on this one. And this cover should just pop out. Although it can be a bit tight. Oh, that's off. Well, there is a bit of a cable still in there. A tiny bit. I wasn't going mad. Alright, so there is a bit of cable still in there, actually. There it is there. Not much of it left. And there's the other bit there. Okay, so it's potentially just clogged up with a broken cable that you couldn't see externally. There's one piece of it. And there's the other. So I think that's seen better days. So hopefully that will actually shift now quite nicely. You can hear that now, it's much more positive already. That's gone for its full range. There's 1 gear, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 gears. Correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's good. Ha! I've just noticed that's actually 2 cables. Look at that. This must have been in there kicking around forever while somebody changed the cable, fitted this cable, which is now also broke. So that's been in there for God knows how long. Wow. I've never seen that before. That is bonkers. Right, it might be a bit happier now. Just got to get this stupid cover back on because these are a pain in the ass. Anyway, I'll persevere. So I'll just pull the other brake cable out while it's accessible. This bike's actually set up as Euro style, which in the UK means the brakes are on the opposite side to what you'd expect them to be. The customers asked me to leave it like that, so when I put new brake cables in, I've just got to be careful I remember to cable it up Euro style. I'll tell you what, almost every single bike you look at, this screw's either missing or about to fall out, so just check yours. And that's a lucky escape for the guy there. I thought it was going to be a new shifter day there. It's working perfectly. Good. So I'll just run the new cable through there now anyway, and then we can get that cover back in properly. So we're not doing the outers. If you were doing the bar tape, we'd change the outers at the same time, but they actually look in good condition. Make sure you're all the way down to 11th. Thread that through there, and then make sure it sits in its little housing down the bottom. Pull it in tight and you'll see it just sit in its little housing there. Spin it around and thread it through that cable bit. These are stainless steel die-drawn cables. Pretty much the best you can use in my opinion. Pull that in and then that'll just clip back into where it lives there. Wipe any extra lube off and just drop the hood back in. Grab that shifter cable there now, pull it fairly tight and you can operate this lever. And that's pulling it through the housing and releasing it perfect. So there's no issues there, all good. Right, I'm just going to chuck this down here and see what happens. Hopefully it'll just come out the bottom bracket. If not, we could be here a bit longer. So this is where it came out of. Pop it down the hole and hopefully it'll just drop out the bottom bracket. I'm pretty confident it will. Still going, still going. And yeah, it's way out the bottom bracket already, so all good. Pull this cable in to seat it without kinking it. There's one done, that was easy. Put one in the front as well. Just be really careful not to kink this piece here. What I normally do is just give it a real good quick tug there and it normally just drops in without any issues. Clip that back in and fold this hook back. So if you've got these inline barrel adjusters, now's the time to make sure they're working. So just unscrew it and you can see this thread exposing itself, so working fine. Drop a lube on there, doesn't go amiss. Sprayed myself in the face with it. Well, I'm just going to thread this through the frame as well, same as I did with the Derailleur. So there's 2 new cables here. Just make sure you get which is which. Operate your lever if you're not sure, which I'm not sure. That's the rear there, for sure, which is going through this liner. That goes through this guide first here. Make sure you do that, you're not just trap the front cable, which I've just done. Keep the front one on its own side. Actually, I'm going to put it through here, keep it out of the way. There's literally an inch it's got to go, there's nothing. Yeah, that's that one through. So this is the rear one. I'll put that through that liner that we fitted earlier. All the way out the back of the chainstay. Then we can take this liner out. So that's out of the chainstay. Pull this through now, it'll just settle this in. We can take the liner out altogether and let the cable just find it safe. There you go. Now just completely take the liner out. Like that. Like I say, we're not changing the housings on the bar, but this piece here, you may as well change this while you're at it because this gets a bit of abuse. Sort of road level more than anything, and the cost is nothing, so we'll change this piece anyway. Quick look at the back wheel. We are putting a new cassette on there. While you've got it, just check all your spokes, squeeze them as pairs, and they should all feel nice and tight and even. that. Don't squeeze these two on the triangle, squeeze the two that are parallel together. Right, they all feel really good. Bearings on this one. There's a little bit of play in there. I think we'll have to have a look in there. I can feel that rocking around ever so slightly. So we'll have to have a look at that, get the cassette off, get this out, split this down. So it's a Shimano wheel, Shimano rim and hub. So it'll be cup and cone bearings in here. So just me normally take these out, clean the bearings out, put some fresh grease in, adjust the cones, and they'll be good as new. I'm pretty sure most of you know this, but these springs here, make sure you fit them with a pointy bit on the inside. Don't put them the other way around. That's why they need to be like that. I'll just get the cassette off. A lot of people ask me what this tool is. It's basically a chain whip made by Unios. It's 11 tooth on this side, 12 tooth on this side. They do a 10 tooth one as well separately for SRAM, which I probably need to get because I've not got one. Put the 11 tooth on there, then you just need your normal cassette tool. Just does exactly the same as the chain whip. Actually works really well. That's straight off there. And it holds that for you as well, so you don't drop it. Cassette off. So this is what you're probably going to need. You need a cone spanner at least, 2 17s, a couple of magnets, and just use these picks for that. Non-drive side cone, 15mm, and we're just going to loosen this off like that. Take that off, and if you hold the other side now, you should be able to just spin that out. Might need a spanner, and I'll just break that cone off, and just keep going. Get your picks ready because all the balls are going to fall out in a minute. There should be 9 bearings on each side. If they fall out, don't worry about it, it's not the end of the world. They're in really good condition. Flip it over and take the other side out. Again, they're just dirty. They're shiny, but they're dirty. We'll clean these up. Might put some new ones in, treat them. Right, so take that out, and then we're going to try and get this seal out. If it doesn't come out, then don't stress about it too much. It just makes it easier to clean the old grease out of there, that's all. You don't want to do is start bending it and damaging its seal. I use a really old-fashioned tile lever for this normally. You either come straight out like that, or you end up bending it into a million pieces. So, like I say, if it's not coming out and you start bending it, just stop. Because all you need it out for is to clean this old grease, that's it. So this race in the free hub looks in really, really good condition. If you start to see pitting and whatnot and wear in there, then you're going to need at least a new free hub body. Pop this one out on the non-drive side as well. Clean this one up. I'll just clean the rest of the hub up outside here. I'm not taking the free hub off. I'll show you how to though, just in case you need to. So this is a RS010 hub, so if you can find spare parts for it, then that's good. But a lot of the cheaper hubs, not Shimano, but no-name sort of brand hubs, you really struggle to find free hubs because you don't know who's made the hub in the first place. It's Formula, people like that, but this is not a standard part. They're all different pretty much. But because we've got a Shimano part number here, we should quite easily be able to cross-reference that, should you need one. If you need to get it out, you see those splines in there, that'll fit an Allen key in there, basically a big Allen key. That would fit in there, and you could just undo that with a 1/2 inch and change the free hub body if you needed to. This one's no issues there. I don't normally do wheel bearings as part of a sort of standard. This is basically a standard-ish service. We're trying to keep it fairly affordable because, like I say, it's basically just a winter thrashing bike. We're not spending a fortune on it, but if the wheel bearings got issues like this, had slight play, then they will be picked up as part of the service, obviously. Generally speaking, wheel bearings are an additional service or a separate service if you just bring the wheels. They're normally cartridge bearings, so. Alright, that's all good. Just clean the axle and inspect that cone. No issues there either, that's all nice. Alright, so we're just going to get some grease in here. I've got my new working grease gun, which is a novelty. 9 bearings. Absolutely guaranteed to drop one of these down the middle of the hub. That's for certain. If you don't, you're not doing it right. 7, 8. Told you, last one. It's not too bad when you've not put the other side in, but when you put the other side in and you do it, you try and get it out with a magnet, you rip them all out. So it's always good fun. So there's some new bearings in there with fresh grease. Add a bit more grease into this. The beauty of this, I can just dab it in between each individual bearing. Exactly. So nice. Plenty in there now. You're going to get this bit of a seal back in. This will just automatically stop in there. So just press this in evenly. You might need a socket or something, or a bit of a seal driver. You'll feel when it bottoms out. And that's it there, that's in. I'll flip it over, same on the other side. I'm not totally abandoned the mobile grease, we'll use it still, but I think going forwards I'm swapping permanently to finish line. 6, 7, 8, and don't drop it. 9, alright, happy days. Put your axle back in. Before you put it in, make sure this drive side one is tight because you don't have access to this once it's fitted. So just drop your cone span on there and check this is tight, which it is. Drop this through drive side without knocking the bearings out. Flip it over. Drop this cone back in. dead easy. This is. The only challenging bit is keeping it in focus. I don't know what, my camera's having a bit of a fit today with focus, so we bottom that out to where you think. Put your spacer on there, and then this lock nut with the serrations facing outside, so that grips the frame basically. And then just lightly nip these up and see how it feels. And then basically just nip that up lightly, just to see how it feels. If you've got any play in there still, there's no play there at all. You'll feel it rocking side to side. It feels lovely and smooth. I can't move that at all. Sometimes when you put it in the frame, you will feel a slight difference. And also when you put your quick release in, that'll basically preload the bearings ever so slightly anyway. So I'm pretty confident this is going to be spot on. So I'll just tighten that up now. Like that. Good. New Shimano cassette. Just going to get some grease on this free hub body first. So nice. Look at this, guys. It's the future. It's not the future, it was the past. It just broke. Still honestly can't say I've ever had a cassette seize onto a free hub body, other than when it's been aluminium and it's bit into it. They could be quite a challenge, but actual corrosion wise, I don't think I've ever had one that has seized up, but best practice. So you get this bit of kit on the Shimano one, so you line it up with this big fat slot here, with the matching one which is here. Pull the pin and it should just drop straight back down, in theory. That's the theory. Sometimes works, sometimes you get it slightly out and it just falls to pieces. Pull the pin out and it should just drop out. Almost. It's because I'm trying to do it on camera, that's the problem. I wouldn't normally hold it like that. Anyway, I'll persevere and put the rest back on. That's what happens when you've got a camera in the way and you're trying to film it. Never mind. I almost had it then. HG is so easy. Micro spline, these top three are, wow, they're fiddly. It's a microscopic arrow you need to line up. And it's really hard to see when they've been used. Just grab it with your fingernails and then spin the cassette until you feel it just drop in properly. Like that. And I've got to do the internet torque wrench apparently. Click. There you go, it's 40 Newton meters. Trust me guys, I've done thousands of these, I know how tight they need to be. Beautiful. Right, drop the quick release in. Bit of grease on this. These do seize, that's for sure. Put that through, I'll say pointy bit inside. Like that, and that'll go back on the bike in a bit. Done. Front wheel, I'll just do the same off camera, it's exactly the same, but a bit easier because you've not got the free hub in the way, but exactly the same. There's a bit of corrosion on this, which is a shame, but the feel actually really good, but we'll just bang some grease in there anyway. Alright, I'm doing this for the third time now because first time the battery ran out, didn't record. Second time I forgot to switch my microphone on, so I'll do it quickly for you now. Take this caliper apart, this is already working now because I fixed it, but you take these nuts off here. So the first protocol was basically cover the spring here in PB Blaster and work it. It didn't quite work, so we need to strip it down. We take the two nuts off the back, take these 3mm off, but just be a bit careful because there's a lot of spring tension in here. That comes off there, like that, and there's another one here. It's going to be easy just to show you the whole thing again rather than trying to fix the footage that's broken. Oh my god. So if you lose a video, it corrupts it basically. You can recover it, but the software takes absolutely hours for one little clip. It's quicker normally where possible just to refilm it, which is what I'm doing for you now. Anyway, so these are the pivots. Basically these get a bit stuck in here. There's a bush in here, so it just needs cleaning out. There's a washer here as well. A bit of grease on the shaft. Like I say, I've already done this anyway, so it's working perfectly. So I'm just going to reassemble. So once that gets seized in there, that's when the caliper is going to struggle. Same on this one. There's a bush in here as well. And this is actually a bearing. So if you pop this off, you'll see there's grease in here. I've just greased it. There are tiny little balls in there. Very important bearing. Basically sits on there like that. So that's ready to go back together. So put this one on first. You've got this spring here. This is the issue. You get the spring pressure on this is immense, honestly. Put that in there, hook it in, tighten this back up. Nip it up. It doesn't need to be stupid tight on these because you've got a nut on the back that holds it together. If you over tighten it, basically it binds up and stops it actually moving, so don't go crazy with it. And then we're going to clamp this piece in the vise because we have to overcome this spring pressure here like that, while you try and get this piece in this hole because that needs to be basically down here. So I'll just clamp this in the vise. So just clamp that piece there, and then you got to pull this back down here. This is the spring you're overcoming, and then get this threaded in here. Because basically this little roller, there's a roller here, needs to run on the underside of this bit here. So you've got to get this down here like that. 3 pairs of hands is good here. Get this started straight, and then just keep going. All the time you're holding that spring back, don't let go. And that's basically it in there. Then you can tighten this up like that. Again, not stupid tight. And that's basically on, so that you've got your spring pressure. It's back in the caliper. Then you need to get these nuts back on here. I'm not sure it's strictly necessary, but I always prefer to put just a drop of Loctite on here. Better be safe than sorry, I think, when it comes to brakes. Wireless brakes, I keep talking about wireless brakes and all the comments are going, no, you can't do that, no. Trust me guys, it's coming. It's coming one day. They're a bit vague, patents normally are I guess, but the information is in there and they're coming. Right, so I took the pads off while I was doing that just to get more clearance. These pads are worn out. So you see these wear lines here. Once you can't see them here, the pads are worn out. Compare that to the front caliper, there's a big difference. So those grooves are pretty much brand new on these pads, so you've got loads of life left. So when you compare it like that, obviously they're worn, but you can't see the wear grooves on the inside. Once they've gone, it's time for new pads. So we're just going to change these over. All you need to do is take the screw out, and this cartridge just slides out, slides the new ones back in, put it together. So all you need to do is take this screw out. Sometimes they're Allen key, sometimes they're screws. Most of the time they're seized up. You normally get new ones with new cartridges. So just got to get the old one out, that's the interesting bit. So this should just slide out now. I'll just mount them back in the brake first because it's going to be a lot easier. So this is the back brake, these are directional. Basically this piece here stops the pad being ripped out as you're braking, so this is clearly for this side of the brake. So we've just bolt that in loosely. We've got to realign it with the rim obviously. So the sharp fin goes on there, basically to aid you to get your wheel back in, your tyre back in. And the blanked off section is in direction of travel, so the wheel goes this way. If you had it the other way, basically the pad could be just ripped straight out, which is not ideal. Say what you want about rim brakes, but they're pretty straightforward to work on. In the middle of nowhere you can do this with just an Allen key and a screwdriver. These should just pop out now without too much difficulty. And it's also a lot easier when it's mounted to the bike. You've got some leverage, these can be a bit tight. Like that just pops out. Right, these are not Shimano, I can't remember who they are, but you don't need to get Shimano, they all do the same job. If you've got carbon rims, you can get special carbon inserts. And again, this tells you which one goes where. So remember, this is the back of the brake, this is the right hand side of the bike, and this will tell you on the back, forward, left. So that's clearly for that one. Right, forward, so we know that's going there as well. So the arrow tells you the direction of it, and the L and the R obviously tells you which side it goes. So it gives you a clue as well because there's a groove here which lines up with that screw. So just push that in. And these, like I say, these are Allen key ones instead of the screw crosshead like the old ones were. Just a retaining screw there. I mean, I can't see how it would ever fall out unless you're braking backwards. But hey, again, these do not need to be very tight. Probably 1 to 2 Newton meters if anything. Good as new. And this front one that's not broken, we're just going to do a bit of preventative maintenance and get some lube on these pivots that were just cleaned. Especially this area down here. Do it upside down so you're not dropping lube all over your pads. This rear mech's in pretty sorry state. As you can see, the corrosion on there is pretty extensive, but it's still working pretty well. Nice and smooth, spring's good. It'll still work, it just doesn't look very good. However, these jockey wheels, I've seen better days. On the top one, the G-pulley, you should have side to side float a little bit. You shouldn't be able to do it that float there, that's just no good at all. That's the lower one there, so they're both coming out. There's also another problem with this mech that I'll cover in a minute. We'll clean all this rubbish off. That's the lower bolt. Keep that where it goes because they can be different lengths. Clean all this rubbish off here. So the play in there basically is this bush in the middle because there's no bearings in there, it's basically just a plastic bush. And you can see how loose that is in there, that's where that slop's coming from. The other issue with this is this barrel adjuster is seized up. That's seized solid, that is, and we need that. So this is where something like Nipex parallel pliers are really good for this. So because it's a big square thing, you're just basically moving that very slowly backwards and forwards. And once it gets going, it's normally pretty good. Unscrew it all the way, and we'll get some lube in there as well. Right, so that's out there. You can see how dry that is in there. Bone dry, disgusting. Alright, so we'll clean this up on the grinder. Get some grease in there. Screw it back in. You want to tap through there if it's really bad, but I think this will be okay with some grease. I'll just clean this up. Wire wheel. So I'll just run the tap through it while it's here. May as well. Get a bit of grease on this. Push that back into its housing. Fiddly to get them in because you've got to press the spring pressure in at the same time as trying to turn it, so they can be a bit tricky to get started. There you go. Done a few before. So when we put this in, we don't need it all the way in, we need it out a couple of turns, so you've got adjustment either way normally. So just all the way in, then back out a turn or two. So I've got shims on the way for the headset. I'll sort that out tomorrow. I'll try and get it on camera for you. But I spoke to the customer about the seat post. He didn't know it was stuck, but equally he has zero intention of ever moving it. And he says he's basically going to run this bike into the ground, so it's never going to be sold. So there's no real requirement for it to be unseized. I know people in the comments going, all you need to do is this, this and this. Trust me guys, I've been doing this for decades, literally decades. When a seat post is stuck, it's stuck. I'm looking at as a company in France that do the extraction devices, but even then I wouldn't use that on a carbon frame, I don't think. Seat post man for the win. Put a link below. I think these will do. Perfect. Definitely want Loctite on this one. Alright, nip these up fairly tight. You don't want these falling out, guys. Like that. Like I say, G-poly, you should be left and right. It helps it just pick up the sprocket, but you shouldn't have a wobble like it was before. Right, and that's all that derailleur is getting. I'll get lubricated as well while it's on the bike. That's good to go. Again, front derailleur, just going to look at this bolt. That was the one that was a challenge, to say the least. Now we've got the tap out, we'll just run that through there. Just run this tap through here as well, clean this out. Not happy. All that rubbish. Fixed. Lubricating all these pivots on this. I love these derailleurs, these toggle link derailleurs. I like these. This bit here is a skid plate, basically. It's a piece of plastic and it does come off, it's replaceable. These basically wear out and cut themselves in half and fall out eventually. So a lot of the bikes come in, this is completely missing because it's had that much wear. This has got a bit left in it yet. Well, they're not expensive, they're like £4 or £5, but to be honest, a derailleur is £20 at the moment. So then you've got to set it up though if you get a new derailleur, I guess. Fit these. It's two little plastic tabs, you just basically push them out and push your new one in. It takes 2 minutes. And this one here is the tensioning screw on this derailleur. So we've got one in line, but you need this one. So back this off. I hope it's not seized, because they do. This one's okay. Get some lube in here because we need this to be able to move quite easily. And once that's at the edge, which is about there, this piece here, this black piece here, needs to move in. Because that's basically going to push that against there and tension this clamp. So this piece here needs to be moving. Alright, so that just needs to be pushed back in there, and then basically when you tighten that up with a cable, it will tighten against there, nip the cable up. When you push that in there, it pushes this silver piece independently without undoing that, and it tensions the cable for you. So I'd make sure it's set like that when you refit it. That's out and that's in, this is loose. Crank's actually pretty clean, the rings, etc. So this is basically going to go straight in as it is now. Just going to get some grease in the bottom bracket and this can go straight in. So the bottom bracket apparently was replaced fairly recently, so it certainly feels really good. There's a bit of grease on here as well. I just wondered if the bottom bracket was done by the same person that left half a gear cable in the shifter. Never ever seen that before. Right. Feels good. Left hand crank on. And it goes one way, put your safety cap down there. Preload cap in. That's it, yeah. Don't need to be cranking it down super tight, that's more than enough there. Move that cable out of the way and give it a spin. Beautiful. Make sure there's, grab both arms and make sure there's no play side to side because that's the preload you're taking out, but that's absolutely fine. You don't need much. And then we're just going to tighten these up evenly. Right, so that's all the broken bits basically fixed, so we can just put it together now. Just going to run a tap through these as well because they're a bit rubbish. Grease in here. So the only question mark really is the chain rings, but chain rings, honestly, you'd be surprised how much life you get out of chain rings. 25,000 miles is not unusual. I'm sure there'll be plenty of people jumping on the comments saying I change them every 3,000 miles, but you're doing something wrong if you're putting chain rings on every 3,000 miles. Right, that's on. Right, just going to get the front derailleur on next, I think. It doesn't really matter what order you do this in, all going to go on, isn't there? So it's got this dubious looking cable cover here, it's a seal sort of thing. So just thread that through there. You can see the mark there on the frame where it was, so you get a good clue. You don't have to be exactly there, but that's certainly going to be ballpark for you. So this toggle link one, because it's a band-on one, it's slightly different to the ones you'd normally see where it's got a little adjustment screw to get it parallel. This one basically you just put it on parallel, there's no screw that goes through the middle of the body to do it, which is a good design when there is, because it basically braces it against the frame. And you're looking for a 1 to a 3mm gap between this piece here, so this is a, for example, a 3mm Allen key. So a little bit, definitely between 1 and 3. Something like that is going to be fine. Okay, but spin it all the way around because sometimes these teeth profiles can go up and down slightly as it goes through. This one's going to be fine there. Like I said, I'm not sure whether this is going to mesh with the chain, but we'll find out later. When you're happy with its parallel, right height, just finally nip this bolt up. Right, so to cable it up, I'm not going to go into too much detail, like I say, because I do want to make a video just dedicated just to this, but make sure you are in the lowest low position, so your smallest chainring with trim, and then fit this cable underneath here. Pull a bit of tension, I'm pulling that quite hard there, look. And then just nip this down and make sure this stays where it's supposed to be against that stop, like I said. Like that, basically. Nip it up, don't do it super tight yet because we've got to just go through the motions. Alright, so I've just done that and it's just seated something there. So pull that tight in there, make sure this is in there. But again, I'll explain more in my main one when I get around to it. So to set this now, we need to line up basically 2 lines on here. So you put it onto your biggest chainring position and you click back 1 trim on your gear lever, so this will move back ever so slightly when you're actually running it. And then you use this screw here to tension in the cable, and eventually this line will move around. Not a million miles off there, can't really see where I'm standing. So we'll see how that goes. There's some adjustment screws here. When the chain's on, we may need to trim that because that top trim position isn't doing a great deal at all, so potentially this H screw isn't set correctly. It's not a high limit, it's just something slightly different, but it'd be easier to explain when the chain's on. But that's basically working at the moment. The cable wraps around there, so just make sure that cable sits underneath this part of the cage here. If there's a gap it'll actually sit into, like that. You don't want it sort of trapping in between the two, and that'll be fine there. Let's get this rear derailleur on. I'll go through that front derailleur in a lot more detail when I find a suitable candidate for fitting a brand new one, so all the adjustments need doing from fresh then. It's a brilliant derailleur when it's set up correctly, I'm a big fan of it. And this derailleur, there's a groove here, you'll see exactly where the cable's designed to go. This side of it, don't put it the other side. So it'll just sit under there like that. And again, we're just nipping that up loosely at the moment because we do need to just make sure everything's seated where it should be. Just move the gear lever now. I think that'll be okay where it is now. Get the wheel on, the chain on, we'll go through the gears and fine tune that if need be. Right, this back wheel can actually go back in now. Actually, I'm going to put that back brake on first, it'll be easier. So I'm just going to put the rear caliper on first before we put the wheel in because it's a bit easier like that. Just get your bolt there, drop that through with some load of grease on there. And then you can spin your caliper on like this. It's easier than turning the Allen key. When you're about there, just nip it up. Again, we'll need to centre this when the wheel goes back in anyway. Then we can put the wheel in. So get it positioned between the chain stay and the seat stay, and then we're closing it. This is sort of how tight you need to be. Okay, so I can easily do that. It should be tight enough just to leave a brief dent in your hand there like that. The amount of bikes I get in, I have to use a lever to open this with or something. So I've obviously pressed it shut with a foot so hard. It doesn't need to be that hard. It's just a cam action that holds it in. I'll centre this brake a bit better now, so basically loosen this bolt off. Squeeze the caliper on, nip it back up again. Again, front caliper back in, load of grease on this bolt here, don't forget that. You don't want that seasoning, and boy they seize. Again, get it somewhere roughly centred before you get the wheel in, it's fine. And we can tighten that in a minute. Again, just get this quick release doing what it should be doing. Camming, around about there. And then just level with the fork leg there, so if it hits anything, it's only ever going to tighten it. You don't want it dangling down here. If you hit something there, you'll potentially loosen it off, which would be not ideal. It's got safety tabs on it anyway, so centre this front brake a bit better now. Again, just loosen this back bolt off. Squeeze that on, tighten the bolt. That'll be about right when we get some cables on there. Right, just going to trim these a little bit. I'm not going to go for the full trim yet because we might need to do a little bit more tweaking. So on the chains, normally I've got 2 level pins here. I'll hang the old chain against the new chain and make sure these links line up, but because this is so worn out, I've just got to keep matching it every few inches because otherwise you're literally about 2 links out. It's that bad. Honestly, it's so bad. So anyway, I've measured it and it needs 4 links off, which I'll take off, and then I'll show you what that looks like against compared to the old chain. You saw me check the big length before I actually took it off the bike, and there's plenty there, so this will be good. And that's basically how much that other one has stretched by, probably about 1 inch. Shimano chain, I've probably told you this 100 times before. If you have a look at that, there's no writing on there. Spin it around the other side, you'll see the writing on the chain. That needs to be facing outside of the bike when you put it on. Get that on, and then get your quick link pliers. Because you ain't doing this by smacking your pedal. Look at this. Shimano links are very, very, very tight. Right, now I can put a workshop pedal in here. I'll put the other pedals on in a minute. So first off, I'm just going to shift this gear lever without pedaling. That's just going to seat all this in basically. As far as you dare. And then go back down and see if you've got any slack there. So click in there, one position now, he's not going to shift that. It's just you've got a barrel adjuster, but that's a lot of slack to take up. So we undo this, pull it through a bit more. Try that. Right, that moved ever so slightly there, you'll see that moving a little bit. Still going to need the barrel adjuster, but I think that will get that. Get her up to the big chain ring, see what happens. Straight up there. Right, one gear on the back, that's not going. So we're just going to undo this barrel adjuster until she shifts up. Like that, another turn or so, then go back down. Too much cable tension there. Screw that back in. Up, down, up. A little bit sluggish, so I need a half a turn more. Let's go. Goes up lovely. Won't go down very well though, does it? Goes up lovely. Don't want to go down there. Right. Right, it's not happy with that, so we're going to check derailleur alignment first of all before we get any more drastic. Well, we haven't done that yet. So we'll check this hanger alignment first of all. It's not happy. It'll go up or it'll go down, but it won't do both. Worst case scenario is we're going to have to unwrap the bars and change the outer that's underneath that tape, which would cost me another inner cable, but it's not the end of the world. Let's check this first. The bar tape's in really good condition, so I'll try not to change it if we can get away with it, but if this doesn't shift and this is straight, we're going to have to change it. Again, this is my 2 pre-alignment tool. You've probably seen this in a couple of AliExpress videos. Right, check that against the top of the wheel like that. Make sure your elastic band is there. You don't need to tighten this. We're only interested in that. Drop it down to the bottom, get it level with the rim and push that in. So we're about 5-10 mil out there, so yeah, it's not ideal. We'll give this a quick tweak. It's probably about half the distance when we go to the top and then back down. Should be about right. You should always use the valve as a reference point, but I do know this wheel is pretty damn straight, so I'm not too stressed about that. Best practice, let's go for best practice, let's show you that. Right, we've still got a bit more to go. This should be basically touching that, about 1 to 3 millimeter gap. Again, every time you half that gap, the one at the top's going to be half, so keep checking them both. Right, that's a lot better there, that's pretty much touching that. And then we should check it to the side. Right, that's pretty straight. So there was a small adjustment needed. Whether or not that's fixed it, I have my doubts, but we'll find out in a minute. Goes up, will it come down there? No. Right, so it won't come down on that click, so if I pull this derailleur down, it comes down. We know basically there's friction in the cable. Now it's come straight down there, so there's friction somewhere. I mean, this bend here is horrendous, wow. Anyway, we know this bit's new, we know the inner's new, so the only bit that's not new, the bit in the handlebar, so we might have to do that, I think, because that's not happy at all. Chain's brand new, cassette's brand new, most of this cable's brand new. We know it's aligned. We're not looking at the stops because it goes top to bottom. We're not looking at B tension. It ain't shifting. I'm going to run some lube down there, I think. No good. Right, we're going to have to bite the bullet and change the housing under the handlebar tape, unfortunately. So let's do that. So the chances of getting this tape off and then back on again are microscopic. I think it's been double wrapped now, so it could be a challenge. It's not even been wrapped very well anyway, because that's just like cut straight off and it's going in the wrong direction. See what happens here. It's not double wrapped, it's just really, really thick tape. That's all we need to unwrap. I've got access now to that housing. Just cut this tape off and it'll come off. So pulling that through, it really doesn't feel that bad. So we'll see what happens. Keep this bit, we need that bit because it's special to the lever. So So I'll cut a new piece of this, exactly the same, and make sure that cable is super slick going through there. This is the old cable there. You can see just this bit of a kink in it here. That's as it goes into the frame almost. And it's a little bit perished here. So potentially it might do it. It only needs a tiny bit of friction just to stop that shifting down the block as it should. Probably being extremely optimistic to reuse this cable. I think it's going to be quicker just to change it, unfortunately. So I can keep this for another bike for a front derailleur. It's brand new. And I can't imagine how badly this bike's been shifting for God knows how long with that half a broken cable stuck in it. So now, on this occasion I'm going to add some cable grease on it just because we're struggling a bit. Shouldn't normally need it, but just on this occasion every little could help. And there really is zero friction there. But if I hold that now, look, it just falls off. That's how little friction you want. Nothing basically. Again, there's literally zero friction on this. Look. If you can't get your cables to do that, then your gears are not going to work, let me tell you. Tighten that back in. And again, we're going to shift this lever again because we put a new housing on the front. So just throw that as far as you dare. And let's see what happens now. One gear. Straight up. That was a good guess. Does she go down? Yes, she does. Perfect. Straight away. Well, there you go, guys. Cable housing again. It's working lovely. Still got no brakes. Just goes to show the difference. One bit of cable housing that looks okay wasn't actually okay. It's just causing that tiny bit of friction in the system, and they're so sensitive to it. It just needs to be zero resistance anywhere around here, and a better designed frame would be nice as well. That's just bonkers. That's basically the equivalent of internally routing a cable through a stem. The angle you're asking that to go through. It's just stupid. Anyway, she's working now. Just going to fine tune this front derailleur, chuck some brake cables on it so I don't keep using my hand, and then rewrap that bar a bit. And after you've cut your cable, you need to fit a cable end to stop it fraying, so you use a special tool to do that with. Like that. So I'm just going to make sure this front derailleur is working okay on its limits, so drop it down to here, there's no rubbing here. All the way to the top of the block. Shouldn't be in this gear, big. You're allowed sort of 0 to 0.5mm clearance on this chainring on the derailleur here. So that's what that H screw there is for. Basically for the inner plate and the chain, you want a 0 for this front bit here. It's hard to get a camera in there, but you're allowed 0 to 0.5mm clearance between these two pieces here. So if you're actually touching, you could adjust that in or out using this H screw here. It's not really a limit screw. That's pretty much all that does, is adjust the final position of this cage when it's in big, which you shouldn't be in. Just rub in there, not rubbing there. Okay. And then again, drop down to the bottom, final trim. And you're again on the skid plate here, you're allowed 0 to 0.5mm. Personally, I prefer to leave it at 0. I'd rather have a tiny rub in first gear that you use for 3 minutes in a ride, rather than over adjusting this and potentially allowing the derailleur to overshift. So it's on a plastic skid plate anyway, so 0 for me is fine. That's in spec, 0 to 0.5mm. So we're happy with that. So on these, I always set them very short, basically that short there, so this cable can't then pull out of there, it just jams against there. Because quite often if they're long, this cable sort of falls out, gets jammed up on here, comes out here, just causes all sorts of issues. So you cut it nice and short, it can never go anywhere basically. That's how I do it. Alright, bang his pedals on next, get them out of the way. Again, grease, anti-seize, chip fat, I don't care, just get some on there guys. Let's get this tape back on again, take this red stuff off. There's a groove underneath this bar. Just get it in there best you can. Just before you watch me struggle to rewrap this, take a moment out to thank this video's sponsor, Sport and Leisure. So when you're in the middle of a job, the last thing you want is progress to come to a grinding halt because a part that said it was in stock you've ordered wasn't actually in stock. That's why I use Sport and Leisure. So they're a UK-based company, their stock levels are live. It says on the website it's in stock, it really is on the shelf, ready to go. Order before 3 PM and it will ship the same day with free delivery on all orders. You need it faster than that, the next day delivery is only £2.50, which is a no-brainer when you're trying to keep work moving. Honestly, the amount of time I spend waiting for parts, crazy. They've also updated the discount scheme for the channel. If you head to sportandleisure.com www.seatpost.com/BCR or scan the QR code on screen now. It'll take you to a web page that's unique to yourselves and automatically apply a 10% discount at checkout. So it's an easy saving. If you're in the market to get stuff, then just head down to sportandleisure.com, go to that link and you'll save 10% off, just like that. Anyway, let's get back to this. Wish me luck. Right, it's got 2 opes. I'm 100% with you guys. I'm not a fan of rewrapping bars, but I think this tape will actually go on pretty well because it's pretty thick. Well, that's not too bad actually, all things considered. I didn't wrap it the first time, so don't blame me for it going the wrong way. Yeah, brake cables. Like I say, UK normally this is the front brake, but this is actually going to the rear brake on this one. Customers asked me to keep it like that, so I'm going to try and get this through the top tube now. I'll spin the bike around so you can see what I'm doing there. So it's basically going in here, the grommet in there, and out here. There's also a grommet in there, so I'm going to pull this out, make life a bit easier. Right, so there's a bigger hole there now, so I'm just going to try and shove that through. I might be able to see the end of it if I can. Just grab it with a pick and pull it through. That's plan A. We have many more plans, don't we? Literally can't see anything. Let's bang a brake cable in there next. Plan B is to drop this through the lever, through the housing itself, and then the smaller end there will hopefully just pop out there. Plan B, don't worry, there's plenty more plans left. I do quite like introducing a bit of a challenge doing this sometimes. To myself really, it keeps it interesting, doesn't it? Right, did that go in or did it go through the thing? Oh, straight through, that was good. And this will go through with the outer cable. And we're looking for it to come out here. Again, measure how long you've got to get through. So if I put my finger there, you'd expect to start seeing a cable by the time my finger hits there. I'm also going to get gravity to give us a hand as well. So if I tilt the bike downwards, this cable's naturally going to go towards this hole then. And then you can also tilt it like this. So basically the cable is naturally going to fall down towards this channel now. This cable is actually slightly magnetic. So I've got this small magnet here. They can go up here. I can actually hear that, just click onto that cable straight away. Well, that's on that cable, there you go, pull straight through there. Easy. Honestly, there's so many different ways of doing it, I just like to, a bit of variety sometimes. Alright, just put this cable grommet back on and into the frame. And this will go to the caliper obviously. Right, so to connect this up, I've still got to adjust these rear pads, but it's going to be a bit easier when I've got at least a little bit of tension on this. Hi. Right, let's just get these lined up somewhere close. How does that feel at the lever? Slack. Let's pull that through and tighten that properly because it wasn't actually tight. All the way through, then just back it off a fraction. Nip it up a little bit and try it. I've got a full barrel adjuster if need be. That feels really good as it is, so I'm going to fully tighten that now. And just crimp that on. So, rear front brake. UK guys will know what I mean. I did ask him and he says no, he's totally used to it, so he wants it leaving as it is, and that's fine. And that's in. We're about there. It probably took you guys 45 minutes, it took me all day. It's very time consuming to move the camera around, etc. But if you enjoyed it and you got this far, then if you've not already done it, then please hit that subscribe button. I know everybody asks you, I know everybody just completely ignores it, but it does make a big difference. And they'll say that as well, but hey, I can't force you to if you don't want to. Make sure that's tight. That feels really good on the lever. That's tight. You can use these sideways as well as end on as well. So I mentioned I quite like these. So those levers feel fantastic. Centered lovely, no rubbing, beautiful. So just going to put some lubricant on this. I know this is winter bike, so we're definitely going to put a wet lube on this one. No point putting a dry lube on a winter bike. So we go finish line wet on this one. I'm a big fan of Finish Line products, and if Finish Line USA do fancy sponsoring and kitting my entire workshop out with Finish Line products, I'm all ears. I've always been a big fan, and I like every single one of your products. Is that sucking up enough? But honestly, I'm a big fan of Finish Line products. Right, one link at a time, let's go. One thing I want to check is just get this onto this big chainring and see how it looks. So that actually sitting on there quite nicely. If you could lift this off and see daylight between the chainring and the chain, I'd have my suspicions that this is not going to work under load, but that looks really good actually. So I'll wrap it up today and revisit tomorrow briefly when that headset shim arrives. I'll just show you what I'm going to do with that. Give it a final wipe down, still a bit dirty down here and on the wheels, etc. And it's good to go. Right, so it's next day, shims have now arrived. So I'm just going to take this off, take this cap off, add at least one extra shim in there, put this back together, and there, with that complete. I'm also going to change this compression bung in there. It's such a rubbish design. I'm going to put this Dida one in there, far better one, so I'll change that at the same time. So I'll take this FSA one off, put the original one back on there. I'll say just an extra shim on top of this plastic washer here. That's all it needs, is a 0.3mm clearance, that is. So drop that on there. And this is the original cap. Drop that bung in, tighten this up, 5-6 Newton-meters, it doesn't need much. Tight. And then for this, I've got one little spacer on the top because this bung has made it ever so slightly. It's still work, but it's completely flush, but you need a millimetre or so just to get the clearance. Much better. Good. Final torque on these. Job done. This is the old expander. It's just got this tiny wedge in here at the middle, and that's it basically. It's just wow. No good. Alright, we're done. That's better. That's how it should be. Right, this one's done, ready for collection. So I hope you learned a few bits and pieces. I think it's quite an interesting one. I edited most of this last night, and I apologise, it's over an hour long probably, but I honestly couldn't squash it down any more than that without chopping out too much information for you guys. So if you did stick it out through the full video, then thank you very much. And like I say, if you did enjoy it and you've not already hit the subscribe button, please do that. It really does help me out. Like, share, subscribe, hype, all that great stuff. Got a long way to go to the silver plaque. So help me out, guys. Thanks very much for watching. Alright, so one last go at this. It's been soaking. No chance. No chance. That's never moving in a million years. That's obviously still loose. It's a new one-piece seat post bonded with the frame. Nice.